Last year, wide receivers failed us miserably. This year, could they not because of the depth we have and guys coming in? We'll discuss it next. Locked On Bulldogs.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. He is Clint. I am Daniel, and we're glad to have you. Happy to have you alongside this week as we talk all things Georgia football, Georgia basketball, like we do every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our loyal third segment listeners, thanks to the everydayers, thanks to the people that make this your first listen of the day, and thanks to Game Time, the people that are bringing you today's episode. Download the Game Time app today, and we'll talk to you more about them in a moment. Happy to have you alongside. Here's the plan over the next couple of weeks. We want to kind of go position by position, and listen, this roster is going to change a decent amount between now and even spring practice, and then it's going to change between spring practice. This is not a projected depth chart. Let me stop right here. Just a little public service for the people, okay? People love the banter.
This is not geared towards any individual person.
Nope. I'm just saying to you, early look at the depth chart for UGA is a fun title.
It is.
We got it flashing right across the bottom here if you're on YouTube. No one knows the depth chart at UGA. This is more of a position group breakdown. Like, what are we getting in? What did we lose? Do we think this position group is going to be a relative strength or relative weakness compared to last year and compared to the other positions on the field? And so it felt good to start with wide receiver, a position that we were all deeply disappointed with in this last season, 2024, the year that the wide receivers crushed all of our dreams. The drops were horrific. The lack of separation and big playability was mind-numbing at times. The ability to jump on and recover fumbles. That's something the wide receivers did pretty well, I thought, Clint. So
it was actually the biggest strength that they had.
That's not great. That's okay. So let's look at the wide receiver core for this year. Let's start with guys that are obviously on the way out, leaving the program. You got Arian Smith. He's on the way out. Nothing else needs to be said there. You got Anthony Evans. He's on the way out, transferring. Nothing else really needs to be said there. I think kind of a waste. I think we didn't really utilize him. Couldn't really crack the depth chart. And then you got Dom Lovett on the way out as well. Remaining, you have Dylan Bell, which was kind of the surprise and where I want to start this conversation. I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be it for Dylan Bell. I think a lot of people thought maybe this would just be it for him in college football. No one knows about eligibility anymore, Clint. No one knows how many years of eligibility anyone has left. It's a made-up construct.
A myth, y'all.
It doesn't exist anymore. I think everyone sort of assumed that Dylan Bell was done or that he might transfer for his final year of college football. Some people, like Noah Thomas, have chosen to do that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But Dylan Bell opts to return, come back to Georgia. Now, obviously, sour taste in everyone's mouth when it comes to Dylan Bell because of what happened in the Sugar Bowl, the epic drop. I'm talking about epic drop. But Dylan Bell actually had a pretty nice game before that, had a nice play along the sidelines in the first half. If he hadn't stepped out of bounds on kind of a fluky play, would have had even more yards on that. Early in the game seemed to be a target that Gunnar Stockton liked, and throughout the season was one of the more reliable options. How do you feel about Dylan Bell coming back in general, Clint?
I'm happy to have him on this team, Daniel. Let us not forget 2 years ago, Dylan Bell was our best running back on the team. And I'm not just saying that. That's bona fide truth because he started at running back and had the majority of carries at running back, Daniel. So let's chill on the hate of that. Secondly, he's going to be fine within this offense within a dedicated role. He was asked to do far too much, Daniel,
There we go.
last year. He was
There we
asked
go.
to do far too much because he had to, because nobody could catch, including himself. And when he was put in positions that are outside of his characteristics, he didn't excel. I thought he did a fine job. Short slants, short outs, first down possessions on the sideline. Great. I'm glad he's there. End arounds, tough runs over the middle. This is fantastic. A little screen here and there. Some of the route tree is not Dillon Bell's friend. So to have him back within a limited role, I'm happy with Daniel.
And I think that speaks to when you look at what's coming in to this wide receiver core, I think it excites you even more to think about Dillon Bell, because as you mentioned, some of the coming in are going to specifically take responsibilities off his plate, responsibilities that he really had no business having, like being a primary receiver on the outside. That's not Dillon Bell. That's not who he should be. That's not the ex-receiver body type. He ain't. Skill set, he ain't. But fortunately, Georgia's got a couple of guys coming in we're going to talk about in the next segment that I think do fit that body type and are going to take a lot of pressure off of Dillon Bell. Dillon Bell is a guy that you want to get the ball in his hands as quickly as possible, and then you want to let him do his work. He's not the cleanest route runner. He doesn't have the best hands. He's not the best deep ball catcher. He's not the best high leverage outside receiver win the one-on-one. He's a guy you want to get it in his hands early, and then you want to let him do his work. I think Georgia will be able to do that with a lot more because of the guys they have coming in, Clint. And the two that I want to talk about primarily to start are one freshman and one transfer. We'll probably talk about one more freshman and one more transfer in the second segment, but I want to start
about right.
Noah Thomas and CJ Wiley coming into the program. Noah Thomas, the senior transfer from Texas A&M, led them in touchdowns, led them in receptions, led them in yards. Stop me when I get to something that's not good. Not
okay. What you want from your receiving threat.
Yes. He was the best receiver on the team. So he transfers in. Big body, outside, true X receiver, throw it up, 50-50 ball. That's why he was so versatile and so useful in the end zone for them last year. And then you pair that with CJ Wiley, the freshman from Milton, 6'4", Clint, 210 as a true freshman. We have seen big body, very talented, very young wide receivers come in and make significant waves in college football. CJ Wiley's got that body type. He's got that skill set. He played in Georgia high school football on the highest level, and he dominated the sport. This is a wide receiver I think that is not getting talked about enough in this class that's already on campus that I expect to contribute next year in a significant way. CJ Wiley and Noah Thomas add a ton to this Georgia receiving core, just in the simple ability to be able to throw it up on the outside, win the vertical passing game for Gunnar Stockton, and thereby open up a lot more underneath, Clint.
See, Daniel, if I was to give you an over-under bet, just a little prop bet, two groups.
Okay. Sure.
Over under receptions.
Okay.
Two freshmen combined, Talon and CJ Wiley.
Okay.
Or Dillon Bell and London Humphreys combined. More receptions all year.
Okay. What plus zero? How many? If you add take a number and add 0 to it, you get the same number, right?
You get the same number.
Okay. So Dillon Bell against Noah Thomas and CJ Wiley. I'm going to take Noah Thomas and CJ Wiley. The guy that's going to lead the team in receptions next year. And the guy that I think might be like flying under people's radars, maybe the best freshman wide receiver on the team next year.
We're going to talk about two more after this, but first, these. And these are, in fact, Game Time. Game Time's fantastic. GameTime.co, Game Time app. Download it now. Get over there right now. Get into the game with Game Time. Tickets to last-minute events in your area, concerts, sporting events, racing, whatever it is that you got going on, Game Time's got the ticket for you. They got a slider. You hit that, everything, all included pricing right there at your fingertips. You don't have to wait until the checkpoint or the checkout, and you don't have to go ahead and guess with any other website. Plus, if you do find it cheaper elsewhere, 110% coming back to you. GameTime.co right now. Promo code LockedOnCollege. $20 off your first order. Terms apply. That's, again, Locked On College. $20 off your first order. Terms apply. Game Time. Get in the game. All right, Daniel. Let's talk more receivers. The depth of this team. We talked about two guys coming in, how great it is that we have two very, very talented guys. Yet to be determined what Colby Young's status is at Georgia.
I was just about to say, there is still the prospect that there could be a third guy on the outside taking snaps away from Dylan Bell, which would be enormous for this Georgia team. Again,
competition at that receiving position would be absolutely incredible. We also have aforementioned London Humphreys, another guy coming back that hasn't hit the portal that many of y'all were thinking would, but that was just Evans. Tuggle remains at Georgia. We saw sparks from him, Daniel. I think the two things, as odd as this is to say, with all the drops that we had, and I know we had all the drops in the world. I think, again, Georgia fans don't want to hear this, but 17th in the SEC in rushing should make you stop and realize you must block as a wide receiver at Georgia. I don't care about anything else. You could tell me that Kirby Smart's old and archaic for it. But again, that style won 2 national championships, and the game hasn't changed that much in 2 years.
So it hasn't changed at all. Who's in the national championship game this year, Clint?
Well,
Notre Dame.
Two highly quarterback heavy.
Sure.
Pass heavy.
The elite
air raid
quarterback position in college football.
Oh no, Will Howard and Riley Leonard, who this is no shade toward them. They're in the championship, but that has to be one of the worst QB, just quarterback to quarterback matchups in a national championship game in a long time. But I digress. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have guys coming in. Colby Young still to be determined. Nitro Tuggle coming back as well. London Humphreys is there. Scovey White looking like he is under the radar as well for a bunch of people. That short distance burst, Daniel, is something special that he could bring. He's as quick as a duck on a June bug. It's absolutely fantastic. And then we also, not to be outdone, talk about another guy who's quicker than quick. Mr. Branch, how you doing from USC? Transfers in, gets inked, is in Georgia, is going to be here. Daniel, I just listed to you 5-6 guys, 2 of which saw significant snaps last year. 4 or 5 of them saw no significant snaps last year. And I think the 4 or 5 guys that didn't see any significant snaps could invert the depth chart and be the top 4 guys when all is said and done. Daniel,
they could.
We raved about London Humphreys, who's yet to see what's going to happen there. I'm not saying he's done, but I'm just saying let's pump brakes on that. Dylan Bell, we already talked about.
Yep.
But Daniel, this offense needs a catalytic just a hit of quick gas when you need it. When you are in a bind, when the run game isn't for whatever reason working, when the offensive line can't get it, and you just need a little check with me, get it in somebody's hand and see if he could bust one, as we saw Ohio State do with busted plays, broken plays, get into some playmaker's hand and see if you can pull off a 70-yard touchdown. That, Daniel, I just described to you what we've added in the transfer portal at wide receiver with Branch. He is any given play, ball in hands, I'm gone. At any point on the field.
Well, and Talon Taylor is as well.
Yes.
And so the other freshman coming in, an elite talent, incredibly skilled, like premium high-end route runner. Like this is your prototypical wide receiver. Branch, a lot quicker, a lot shiftier, maybe more of a home run threat. And so you kind of get all 3 levels when you're looking at these guys, and Talon Taylor kind of slides in right into the middle of that, and going to be kind of more of a well-rounded, put him anywhere type of guy. I'm going to say this about the wide receiver position. I am optimistic about Georgia at wide receiver, and here's why. Because I think there is no position in football where depth is more overrated than at wide receiver. And you and I have been guilty of getting on this podcast and just absolutely waving the banner that Georgia's got so much depth at the wide receiver position. Let me tell you what depth is at wide receiver.
Last year, or this year's group for Georgia, we talked about how we had 7 or 8 okay guys, but lacked a true dude. And we said, that's fine. Carson will spread it out. He'll be okay.
He won't. He didn't. He can't. It won't happen. It doesn't happen.
There it is.
If you want to excel at the wide receiver position, do you know what you need? You don't need a bunch of Dylan Bells. And no offense to Dylan Bell.
Glad you're here.
Happy you're here.
Yes.
You need Ladd McConkey's. You need Brock Bowers's. You need George Pickens's. You need premium guys. Now, those premium guys don't have to come with 5-star tags on them. Nope. I said Ladd McConkey.
3-star.
You need guys that prove that they are premium. You can't take me off the field type of guys. I need to be out there every single snap. This year, I need to be out there every single snap wide receiver was Arian Smith, guys. I am optimistic about this wide receiving core because I think we have significantly less depth, and I think we have significantly more talent. I think there is a chance that at Georgia, you see maybe 5 guys contribute at wide receiver this year. And listen to me, I will be A-okay with it. You got to have guys because guys are going to get dinged up. They're going to get nicked up. They're going to get injured. Yep. I want premium players at premium positions. I want guys that are going to make a difference out on the football field playing all of the snaps. Those guys that we mentioned, I don't know that it's going to be these names, but I can see a world in which Noah Thomas and C.J. Wiley and Talon Taylor and Zachariah Branch and Dylan Bell are the 5 wide receivers at the University of Georgia this year. And I know there are other guys, and I know that those other guys are talented. And I'm not saying that Jacoby White might not be one of those guys. I'm not saying that London Humphreys might not be one of those guys. What I'm telling you is, as a Georgia fan, you've got to be okay, and you've got to be cheering hard and want some of these guys to separate big time from some of the other guys on the roster, because we don't need more wide receivers. We need better wide receivers. We need wide receivers who are better at their position. And I don't just mean marginally better. I mean, we were embarrassingly bad at wide receiver. I think with the transfers that we brought in, Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch particularly, and I think with the freshman class that we have, which I think is the best freshman wide receiver class that we've had at Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that there is hope to say Georgia's got some guys that are categorically different than some of the other guys on the depth chart, and that's what you want at this position particularly.
Yep, absolutely. We have dudes everywhere. That's what I was kind of making a point in segment 1, is that I could see a situation in which our wide receiver is completely overhauled, where the top 4 or 5 names are not names from last year's group and at all. Like 5th might be the ceiling for some of these guys coming back. It might be that Talon Taylor has more receptions than London Humphreys, and I'd make that bet today. CJ Wiley has more receptions than Dylan Bell. I'd make that bet today. I think you see clearly there was an instant need. Kirby Smart saw it all year long. With drops, our offense went nowhere. So he said, screw it, let's go all in. And he did. He went and got dudes out of the portal. And all of you calling for Jimmy C's job because he can't coach wide receivers, well, this is the first crew that Jimmy C has able to say, I don't have any of my previous guys adopted in. I just have my dudes. We're going to see, because he's pulling them in. Again, I'm not saying shame on you. I am saying chill.
Yeah, sure.
Give him this year. And if CJ Wiley and Talon Taylor are those dudes, then I say we just be quiet and let them cook. We're going to come back after this and let you know about, I don't know, a little glorious thing that just happened today. That's so fantastic. But first, these. And these are, in fact, Wayfair. Wayfair is fantastic, Daniel. I don't know if you know about them. Do you know what Wayfair does? It just is fantastic.
I
I'm
do.
glad you do, because it is decor and home essentials made easy. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, cleaning, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. Currently looking at this free and no hassle delivery, even on the larger items. It's so easy to navigate. I found everything that I need in time at Wayfair website. It was fantastic. So right now, give your home that refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Mike White, Clint, is he's out here cooking. He is out here doing some things that haven't been done since this podcast was started these many years ago.
But keep going.
Haven't been done in a decade.
There, okay, but keep going.
Haven't been done. It's been 14 years, guys, since Georgia was ranked at basketball. Ranked in the AP top 25. I'm just here to tell you, if you think it's silly to cheer that your team is ranked in the top 25, you're an idiot and you're spoiled. Okay? Like, that's just the facts of the matter. This is a monumental step for the Georgia basketball program. Now, it's a long season, and the season ain't over yet, and Georgia's got a lot of work to do. All right? There's going to be some losses. We've mentioned it. There's going to be some tough games. There's a lot of games that are left to be played. Being ranked in the middle of the season in college basketball means just as much as it does in college football. Ask Tennessee about being ranked in the middle of the season. They printed a coffee table book about it. I'm not saying that we should do that, but I am saying we should pause here, Clint, and just take note. Mike White took over a program that Thomas Crean did his darndest to run into the absolute ground. Like, Georgia basketball has been floundering about, signing a guy here, signing a guy there, having a decent season here, having winning a couple games in the SEC tournament there. But they have never, in near 20 years, had a season like the one that they are having right now. And Clint, it is an exciting time to be a Georgia basketball fan.
It is. This is big for a number of reasons, because we're not just looking at, unlike Tennessee fan who says we've reached the pinnacle, what we're saying is we have yet to ascend to the pinnacle. And that pinnacle for us, we said it before the season, we believe we are going dancing at March Madness. That's what we believe. That's what we anticipated. That's what we projected. And sure enough, this team is following through with quality wins against ranked opponents already, with many more looming out there, Daniel. Now, it's going to be just a slaughterhouse starting on Wednesday and going forward. And I mean, if you get in quick and go look at the last two games, look at the box score, look at some highlights, read some recaps, because you're going to have to think of fond old things real quick, Daniel, because it's going to get there in a hurry how difficult this is. Tennessee, Auburn, Mississippi State, like, just tough.
Florida.
Florida.
Georgia plays multiple top 10 teams in the next couple of weeks. They already have a win over a team that is still ranked in the top 10 even after we beat them, because, oh, by the way, they went on the road and beat the number 10 team in the country last week after we beat them. Georgia's going to win some of those games, Clint. I'm just here to tell you, this Georgia team is good. We've talked about it before. Toughness travels, physicality travels, defense travels, shot making does not travel. Georgia has all the things that they need in order to play consistently well. Now, does that mean that you're never going to have a bad game? This is still a young team, still a lot of freshmen and sophomores leading the way. But they've been in some hostile environments now. Nothing like we're going to see on Wednesday night, but they've been in some hostile environments now. I am excited to watch this team match up against Tennessee.
Yes.
Right? Rick Barnes known for having one of the most physical teams in the SEC every year. Obviously, they were ranked as the number 1 team in the country, and then went to Florida, went to Gainesville, and lost by 30 points to Florida. That should give you an idea of how good Florida is. But the fact of the matter is, it is really, really hard to win road games in the SEC. Georgia has won their 2 home games so far. This is not exactly the road game that you feel like you're going to win as if you're Georgia. Right. I'm interested if Georgia just gets boat raced in this game, or if Georgia is right in there at the end in this game. I'm not looking for moral victories. I want to be clear. I'm looking for a Georgia team that verifies to me as a viewer that they belong in these conversations. Because guess what, Clint? When you get to March, you're going to have to play the Tennessees of the world. There's a lot of Tennessees out there, and you're going to have to play them.
And when you are just part of the group, when you get to be in and you're counted as one of those top teams that gets in the tournament, this is why March Madness is so fun, and which is why basketball is so fun when it comes to this time of year, because all of a sudden, all you're looking for is those things that don't, like shots dropping, but everything else travels, and all of a sudden you start hitting that streak, and all of a sudden you hit a run in the dance, and it could be magical. And we've seen this time into every single year. It's why we tune in for it. Georgia could be that team. We have all the pieces, all the ingredients are there. We're not lacking anything. And I think that's what this ranking solidifies for me. Some teams can win, some teams can get up there. But I think with basketball ranking, unlike maybe football ranking, there's so many dudes, right? You have so many players. Basketball, you have a limited number of dudes. And if you just don't have them, they're not going to rank you because they know, okay, that's cute, but hold on.
Yeah.
If you are, this reaffirms that we have guys up and down the roster who can play with anybody. Clearly already done that twice this week. And if we have that showing against Tennessee, no, we will not come back out here and beat our chest like moral victory. That's not what we're saying. We're saying 2 things can be true. A good showing again solidifies our ranking and makes us excited for the future. We want to win, and losing sucks. These are all true things that we can say. Because, football fan that's still here and loyal third segment listeners,
love you.
Gurf, man, we made a believer out of Gurf, Daniel.
Oh, I know.
Santos
Surreal made a believer out of Gurf. We didn't do anything.
Santos Surreal made me a lot of things, Daniel. Okay.
Let's talk about something from a different perspective here.
Okay.
Georgia is now a team that is going to make March Madness. Okay, that's it. That has happened. That is happening. It is, period. It's happening. Now let's talk about if Georgia's got a chance to be a team that's going to compete and advance in March Madness. But because here's the thing about being competitive on the road at Tennessee. You're going to have to play teams like Tennessee in March Madness. Guess what you're not going to have to do in March Madness? Go on the road to Knoxville and play in that environment. Now, let's talk about from the other side of the coin. You're going to have to play teams like Oklahoma and Kentucky in March Madness. Guess what you're not going to get to do? Play them in front of a raucous home crowd like the Steg had this last week. And so if you're Georgia, you don't have any more neutral site games until the SEC tournament this year. It's a bunch of home games, which is easy to be like, well, we won, but it was at home in the NCAA tournament. You don't get to play home games. Or it's going to be road games, which is like, well, yeah, that's a tough game, but we didn't, we won't have to play on the road, so it won't be that tough moving forward. You got to compete and win a few of these road games just to verify, hey, we can beat these teams even in hostile environments, even in difficult environments away from home. Also, you're going to lose a couple home games. And so you got to pick up some on the road. Tennessee is probably not one of those on Wednesday. But
come back on Thursday if we do win on Wednesday.
It will be the only thing that we talk about.
We won't talk about football.
Just
a heads up. If we win.
Promise you. All right. That's it for today. He is Clint. I am Daniel. We are the Locked On Bulldogs podcast, and we will see you guys next time.
See ya.